Hello everybody and welcome back to Watching Walford. I'm Ash and today we'll be discussing 5 characters Rita Simmons could play in Hollyoaks. We on the channel usually like to ask the viewers what they think, and simply on one of the trailer breakdowns, the autumn trailer breakdown that I did not too long ago, Danny May 9607 simply said, we talked about it was a shame that Rita Simmons never got a cameo, and they said, like, by the way, you should do a video on top 5 characters she could be coming into play. And they said, your channel's a rare one, keep it up. Thank you very much, Danny May. And I thought the best idea to address this topic was to do a video discussing what I think would be a good idea. Sorry, excuse me, bloody hell. So first and foremost, it's in no particular order, but I think it's a important thing to discuss what Rita Simmons should be brought into play. As Rita Simmons was obviously Roxy Mitchell in EastEnders, and who was Roxy Mitchell in EastEnders? Explosive, loud, kind of impulsive, caused a lot of problems, didn't think first before she shouted. You know, she was definitely related to Peggy Mitchell. She would shout up about anything, she would cause problems, and she'd think about the consequences later. And so, obviously, you want this sort of explosive character to be brought into Hollyoaks, as nobody brings in Roxy Mitchell to be like fucking naive Steve in the corner, just like looking up from his book and saying, oh, you're supposed to go in aisle 3. And it's just like, sorry, who are you? You want her to be brought, you want Rita Simmons to be brought in to be loud, kind of vulgar, crass, excitable, impulsive. You want all of these things to be involved. So Danny May gave me some suggestions, which I'll go through. The first up is Mandy Richardson recast. I think it'll be a good idea to go through as a whole. Obviously, Mandy Richardson was played by I don't remember the actress's name. But she was obviously fired because she started doing some Sarah Jane Dunn. She started doing a lot of OnlyFans content, which is kind of ironic considering the stage that Hollyoaks is at, because they did used to do sexy calendars and whatnot. But, you know, they fired her because she was doing OnlyFans. Could have been a really good play for the show, but ultimately it kind of comes to the point where if you're making money without us, we don't want you making money at all, kind of. That's shown in a lot of things. The Mandy Richardson character type does fit what Rita Simmons would be able to bring, and would fit a lot of this range. But I don't know. It's kind of I think it would be quite good. It would mean, because obviously it's suggesting that Warren could be Ella's dad, I think it would be a good way to show that, basically, my main point about Rita Simmons being in the show is I feel like she has to be some part with Norma Crow, as Norma Crow is played by Glynis Barber, who was her mum in EastEnders. So we need this connection there. We need the scenes together. It's so important. It's so imperative that we get that dynamic here. So I think it'd be really, really smart. We really need that. And I think it'd be a really cool thing to have. I don't know if Mandy would fit exactly. I felt like that there's just a bit of a clash between like the London East End and like the like slightly north, like Chester. So I don't know if I fully agree. This next up is someone who I'm not entirely familiar with in Ruth Osborne. I'm only really a Hollyoaks fan for the last couple of years, and I haven't seen too much of it, so I don't really know who Ruth Osborne is. They were last here in 2008, apparently. But, you know, that's just there to like air it out. If somebody knows who that is, tell me what it's like in the comment section down below. But ultimately, I don't know it. I've also not really got a big list of characters I'd like to see. I just have I have the character type I'd love to see, you know. Joel's mother, interesting as well. A good reason to have Warren and Norma there too, as it's tangentially related and does that. Because Joel's mother's never really been explored. I believe because ultimately Joel is a rather strange character. You know, he comes from being he's like an ex-junkie, like a lawbreaker, drug dealer, and then ultimately is a, you know, like we've seen his mum twice, but that's kind of a reason as to how, like, it could really, basically, it would make sense for her to be recast. Essentially says Marie met Mick Cordes, who became violent towards Marie, and Joel ended up attacking him in defense, and this meant he served a 6-month sentence, and Marie refused to back Joel up. So this is an interesting way to essentially go into why there would be such like a bad relationship between the two, and it would make sense as to why Warren would be a part of this like dynamic, and it would mean that we would get all of the lovely Norma and Warren scenes that we know and love. Not Warren and Norma, Roxy and Norma. Sam Lomax's sister, the long-last Lomax relative, giving Rita's tea. She's working with the Lomaxes. Very strong. I do think they need some numbers. They need a very powerful, strong backing, as the Lomax family has been absolutely gutted over the last several years. As obviously the Lomaxes were, how am I forgetting the names? Leela and Tegan. Tegan, the sister, like great character, fantastic. Unfortunately, and untimely died on the show, just like most characters who are actually quite good on the show. But she was really good. She had Dee Dee, obviously, so like cool character. You also had Danny and Sam Lomax, both Leela's parents. They were killed by Cameron, but you know, Sam was this like hard nut, like detective. You know, starting a lot of these cool storylines. And obviously Danny Lomax was this, like, I don't know if he was bi or just gay, but you know, this like secretly like gay, I don't know, he had an affair with John Paul for a while. He nearly like got with Steve before he actually realized who he was. So I'd love to see her as Sam Lomax's sister. I think this is probably the best fit so far. I think she fits. It would bolster the Lomaxes, and maybe they bring in like, maybe she has a child, and maybe she has like an older daughter and a younger daughter. So then, you know, then we play up this, and it kind of reunites the Lomaxes, because you have Leela, you have Perry, and you have Steve, and that's about it for the Lomaxes. Like, there's really nobody out there anymore. And I'm just gonna be an absolute hack and suggest, in the trailer we see, I believe it's Dee Dee. I could be wrong. Dee Dee hug Tony and Diane. So what happens if she comes in as like, what if Rita Simmons comes in as a Lomax, and suddenly like now she's got sisters, now she's like, who is my mum, you know, like who is she? I think that's an interesting angle to go with it. So far I'm gonna suggest that the God, I'm trying to find the comment again. I think that the being Sam Lomax's sister so far is probably the most exciting one, as it'll bolster the Lomaxes and give them a lot more presence on the show. So this one I'm happiest about so far. So I mean, great suggestions regardless. Like, thank you for doing this and helping me out, kind of like guys it, because I'm not the most like well versed in Hollyoaks. Like, I've watched bits of everything, but I've not watched much at all. I'd like to watch more. Like, I was watching through summer 2012, and that was great fun. But I've watched Hollyoaks 2015, and I want to keep going through the years and going through by it, but I just haven't really had the time as of yet. I have a lot more time now, of course, but you know, ultimately it'll be interesting to see how that comes about. Next up is Warren's half-sister from his father's side, but Norma knew of her. I think it'd be good. I'd love to see, I don't know, my dissonance with this is simply because Rita, or I mean, I'm just gonna say Roxy Mitchell because I don't really know what Rita's capable of. I think Rita's fantastic. I think she's such a good actress and played Roxy so well. I can't imagine her being that much of like a crime, like tailored person. But I'm not saying, and this could be completely outlandish, and it's probably blasphemy to Grace Black, but could I see Grace Black being renewed with a lot of edge by being brought in by Rita Simmons? Yes, I could. Would they do it? No. Grace Black is fantastic. What I would love to see once the like executive producers are announced and once it settles, just bring back Grace Black and bring back that criminal edge, because ultimately she was really neutered by no longer like being in that criminal world. And I think that it would be good to bring her back with an edge, and I would give the actress a reason to be like, yeah, I'm fucking Grace Black, motherfuckers. But you know, I'm saying it would fit though, but ultimately just bring back the original actress and make sure you actually treat her with the respect that she deserves, as she's Grace Black, motherfuckers. I don't know how you'd get her out of the robbery charge. You could just say, oh yeah, but Cindy was clearly mentally ill and it was all her plan, but she's too mentally ill to be trialed for it or something. But bring her back, simply. Yeah, Warren's half-sister, I like I said, that connection is important, and I just want to see the Norma and Rita scenes. Rain's mother. This one's interesting. It's obviously nothing's really known about Rain's mother. I don't think she's ever talked about, because ultimately Rain just really talks about herself the whole part of the time. Obviously, I think she would be brought in to just fucking yell at everyone, and it would be really important, but ultimately, yeah, there's not really much to go on. They haven't announced anything, so all of this is pure speculation. I want to thank Danny May 9607 once again for giving such a interesting video idea and allowing me to, just work out some of these thoughts, go through 5 characters Rita Simmons could play, possibly even 6. I personally love the idea of her being brought in as a Lomax, and I think it would fit her perfectly, as, the Mitchells were rough, but they weren't like super rushed. They weren't super rough, they were fairly looked after, but they always had that bit of an edge where they would cause some shit. I'm not saying I'd happily see Samantha Womack just come in as, oh wow, you guys are sisters, huh? Like, I know it's really stupid to say, like, oh, just bring them back as siblings, but who the fuck wouldn't do that? The only difference is they are obviously slightly older now, but ultimately, you can still, some people act like that their entire lives. So I'm not saying if you could reunite Rita Simmons and Samantha Womack, that would be absolutely phenomenal. But there we are. I've been Ash from Watching Walford. These have been 5 or 6 characters Rita Simmons could play in Hollyoaks. But thank you for watching, and thank you once again to Danny May for suggesting such an interesting topic. I've been Ash. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.